All right, welcome back. And in the last episode, what we did was we made sure that this 2D game was working and that the items were falling from the sky. So in this episode, I want to go ahead and continue with that and finish that up, honestly. So the first thing, all right, so the items was falling from the sky, and let's change the speed of that. So let's go back into our fruit spawner. And as soon as it begins play, it spawns the fruit, and it spawns a random actor from this class. Okay, now let's just change the speed of that fruit. So what we want to do is actually in our item fall, so the fruit, the actual item here where we did the code, we want to change the speed. So the way we'll do it is in the construction script so that each item will have a different speed. So let's get the projectile movement and set initial speed, and also set maximum speed, set max speed. And plug the max speed up to the initial speed so that they're the same value. Now this initial speed, what we can do is drag off of it and say random float and range so that each one can have a different value and they'll never be like the same. And I wanted to go as high as like 900, but as low as maybe like 200, and anywhere in between there. So now when you press play, the items will be falling at a different speed. So let's look at that here. There's one that fell slow, there's one that fell fast, there's one that fell slow, and there's fell fast. All right, perfect. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is add in the rest of the items. So on item fall, all I did was right click and create child blueprint classes each time to make a new item, and I just replaced the mesh right there. I didn't add in any code, I just replaced the flipbook actually, not the mesh. But that's good. So we've got those two things done. So the next thing that we need to do is get some sounds for this 2D game. So let's go to our sprites folder, or 2D folder actually, and I added in an audio folder. And I dropped in a few sounds, like, I don't know if it's going to be playing these sounds or not, but I got some background music. I got some different kind of pickup sounds. So now that we got our sounds in there, we want to spawn the sound on each item. So each item has its own different sound, or maybe they all have the same sound. It doesn't matter, but we'll be able to set it for each item. So on the do something, come down here and we're going to say spawn sound 2D. And for the sound, drag it off and promote it to a variable, and we'll call it sound. Mine, I've got a lot of those. Let me delete some of those. All right, now that you've got that in place, you can turn the eyeball on for sound. Also turn the eyeball on for fruit points so that we can set different fruit points along the way. But for this default sound, what we're going to do is we're going to drop in this fruit pickup sound. So drop that in right there. And now every time the item collides with the basket, it's going to make that fruit pickup sound. But what if you want the different items to have different sounds? So for example, I've got a sound that's like for my golden idol. Whenever you get a golden idol, that's the sound that it plays. So let's go back into our items folder for our 2D items, which for me it's in sprites, 2D blueprints. And I'm gonna find the golden idol one. And here is where I can set the sound for it. Literally just take the sound that I want. So back in my sound folder, the golden idol sound, that's the one. And I just plug it in. Perfect. Now you can change all your different sounds up to have them all different, just that easy. So each time it collides with the basket, it'll make the appropriate sound. Now, one more thing we want to do with sound is add in the background music for this game. And we're going to do it just like we did with the level music. So just come down here, find your background music. So mine's going to be my audio folder for 2D. And I'm going to drop it right here. Now, the most important part about this is on the right-hand side, you need to come over here to override attenuation. And you need to change the attenuation. For me, I'm going to change it to a box. And then I'm going to set everything to 400. And the fall off distance, I'm going to also decrease the fall off distance way, way small. So it's like almost right beside the box. Now for my box, I need to make sure it covers my whole 2D area, or at least the 2D area where the player will be, which for me, is going to be here. The extent in the X needs to grow. So like right here. So now above ground, you'll never be able to hear this music, but when you get below ground, you will be able to hear this music. So that's good. Also, what you want to do is make sure that your music is actually overlapping the character. So just to be safe, I'm going to extend it in this direction. The Y. Okay, let's go ahead and make these spawners move. So when we play the game, let's jump down here and play. See, there's just spawning from one spot. We want to make that spawner be moving back and forth across the level. So this is what we're about to do. Let's go ahead and set up some barriers so we can't move too far outside of the bounds. So all I'm going to do is duplicate this floor and change it 90 degrees, rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to put this as a bound right here. And bring it way down so it doesn't interfere with the real game. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But before I do that, I'm going to make it invisible. So down here where it says visibility, say hidden in game. That way the player can't go outside of these bounds when they play the game. Perfect. Okay, and now that they have those bounds, what we need to do is we need to make these spawners move. So this spawner should move between those bounds. We can actually add in another spawner, but first let's make it move. So open blueprint, event begin play, spawn fruit. So that spawns fruit. Let's do a move. Custom event, move. Move component 2. And the component that we want to move is the scene component. And over time, all right, so we're going to move back and forth basically. So we're going to move it from one position to the next position. So the target relative location is just only going to be moving in the X direction. So we're going to put X to be like what? 100 and I'm going to say 300 or 500. 500. And then it moves. How long does it take to do that? Let's say about 2 seconds. Then it delays for about, that's a good 0.2. And then it moves back. So copy, paste. And all you got to do is take the scene, plug it in to the component. And instead of 500, we're going to say negative 500. And right at the end of that, we're just going to call the function called move. So as soon as it moves, it's going to spawn fruit. So on event begin play, let's put move first and then spawn fruit. And now let's actually see that. So let's see if that's working here. Or if we made it too far or whatever. Okay, you see the fruit over there spawning? Yeah, so this is exactly what we want right here. So now it looks like it's spawning from random places, but it's really not. It's just moving 500 and 500 back and then spawning at a random time. So this is where things can get interesting. This is where you can add in a second spawner. So what I would do is I would take this spawner, since it's moving from the X, I would just take one over here and do that. So there's 2 spawners. This one will be moving X 500 back X 500. So the next thing that we could do is add in the HUD. Now this part is going to be very interesting. So we're needing two different HUDs to add in. One for as soon as the fruit hits the basket, we want the points to go up, and then one HUD to display on the screen. But before that, when you turn into this character, let's take all the HUDs off the screen. So open up your paper care, and on event begin play, even before it does all the controller stuff, you could say get all widgets or remove all widgets. Remove all widgets. There you go. And then we're going to put another widget on the screen right after all of this. For these walls, I actually don't want them to be invisible. I like them. I'm going to make them visible. All right, so the remove widgets right here, we actually need to put that on our third person, or not the third person character, but I'll show you where we need to put it. It's not going to work from there. So let's go to our that item that we touched to get down into the to the 2D game. So it's this little item right here, and it's called the Access Minigame item. Let's open that up, and what happens when you interact with it? That's what we need to do. So it takes the paper character and it makes you turn into that. Just before that, let's just say remove all widgets from screen. So there we go. Now when you turn into that basket, it'll remove all the widgets. That still didn't solve the problem of it making a noise before though, and we'll handle that. There's two problems right now. So now all the widgets are gone, and that looks way better. Oops. Okay. But you can't hear the background music for some reason, right? But the next thing that we need to do is this HUD. And this HUD might take a little second. So this episode is already getting long. I did not know there was going to be a part 4, but we might. This episode's already getting a little bit long. I didn't know there was going to be a part 4, but we might have to do a part 4. Here's my little HUD. So the damage widget right here. It's a text block, and it has a simple animation. It's called fade up. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that. Damage. Duplicate. And instead of damage widget, I'm going to call it points. Underscore WB. Because I wanted to do the exact same thing. It has the animation that's going to fade up. Perfect. The only difference is that when we have to bind this, let's look at what it's bound to. It's bound to third person character damage right now. That is not what it needs to be bound to. It needs to be bound to the points. All right, so in order to get these points, what we need to do, instead of casting to the third person character or the paper character, what we're going to do is we're going to put the points on the game mode. So every time the points record, they're going to record on the game mode. And this is going to be very important because we're going to need this when they transfer the points from the 2D game to the 3D game. So let's add a variable over here called points. And this is going to be an integer. Compile and save. Now, each one of the items should have their fruit points. So all we're going to do is from that widget. All right, so we're going to get actor of class, and we're going to make sure it's the item fall actor. We're going to get fruit points, and then we're going to connect that in. And it should be 2 right here instead of 1. Now let's see if we can call that widget to come up when we need it to. So this widget is called points. Let's put it onto our paper character. So every time they add points right here, we're going to create a widget. And it'll be the points widget. Add it to the viewport. Okay. So every time it does that, it'll do the points. Perfect. All right, so now we got the sound and the points and stuff like that working out. Another thing we need to do is add the overall points. And this is why we added the points to the game mode, because the points right here, we're going to have to transfer them to the game mode. So we need one more HUD, and this is where I'm going to end the episode because this one is long. I did not know we were going to get this long here. I got through 7 out of 10 items. I guess the last episode will be mad short. But let's do that last HUD. So the HUD that we need here is going to be something just where it's just, we can create a new one. So user interface, widget blueprint, user widget. And it's going to be called mini game points underscore WB. And in this one, all we need is a canvas panel. You can just drop it up there and some text in the top right, and make sure it's anchored to the top right. And this text is going to be a text block, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here because this is a 2D game. Make it say 00 for now. And I'm going to bind it to, create binding to the paper character's points. Paper care, get player pawn, get points, and then plug that in. And you can have it at 2 digits as well. Now we got to put this widget on the screen when we switch into that character. So when we do that, that's from this box up here. So let's go here into this box and go back to the blueprint. When it removes all the widgets, and then it possesses that character, let's go ahead and put another widget on the screen. Create widget, and it'll be the mini game points. And we're going to add to viewport. I'm going to take this print string off. I really don't need that anymore. All right, so this is where we're going to end the episode. As long as this works, we're good to go. So let's go ahead and press play. We'll solve all the other issues later in the last episode. So we'll go here. Now you see my points over here in the top right. Nothing has points attached to it yet. That's why it's all zeroed out. But it's all working though. Perfect. And in the last episode, what we're going to do, since this one, like I said, it got a little bit longer than what I thought. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure each one of those items have their own unique thing. Like the skull should do something and the bomb should do something different, and the other ones should have different points. We'll do that. Then we're going to make sure that we have some kind of countdown timer so that this game can end. And we'll add a game over functionality. And then right at the game over functionality, we'll switch back to the 3D game, and we'll take the points and we'll convert it into money for that character. So when you play this little mini game, you can get money for your character. So I hope you learned something in this episode. Thanks for joining me. Again, I didn't know this was going to be a 4-part series, but it is. And if you notice, I put a whole bunch more spawners up there just to make it more fun. But yeah, I hope you learned something. I will holler at y'all in the next one. Peace.
Run to the money, on the feet, don't fail. The DA and the judge, on the do they best to jail. I done turned it all.